Testing, testing. Testing. Testing, testing. AF peak. It's not picking up at all. Testing. Testing, testing. Testing. Testing, 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 testing.
Okay. Yes. So then, briefly for today, I kept making promises that I was going to show an interview with a former student of mine who's working on a Doctor of Ministry degree from Virginia Theological Seminary, just like our own Dr. Ashley Brandon did. He's was a student of mine, is a priest from the diocese, and he's planting a church, just like this church. Was about 17 or 18 years in the timeline behind where we are. So he's just beginning this work, planting a new congregation at an existing church, and he's turned that into his research. How does this happen? His church is going to be a Spanish language, Spanish-speaking congregation at a church in Bryan. That's an old, sort of deeply rooted Episcopal church there in the town. So at some point, I'd love for you all to meet him and to hear about the project that he's doing. I think it would be really generative for thinking about who we are as a congregation, watching somebody else do it. But just a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share. He let me read his proposal for his doctoral thesis, which was going to be the basis of that conversation that we may still have at some point. We had a hard time getting our schedules together, as can happen. So he says in the beginning, my reflections are grounded in the belief that church planting is not merely a strategic endeavor, but a theological practice rooted in the incarnation. God meets people where they are in their language, culture, and lived experience. That last line there becomes the basis for why relationships, he says, matter in the life of a church. We can't just say, oh, I'm going to go meet Jesus at church, but I'm not going to pay attention to all the people who are around me. Because the whole story, the whole Christian story, is God takes on flesh and dwells among us. And by learning who dwells among us, by getting to know one another, we're actually, Augustine says, that's like a little school where we learn to meet we learn to meet God. We learn to meet the incarnate God by meeting all the incarnations around us, the places where the Spirit shows up in the embodied lives of people. Then one of the particular things that he focuses on in that study, and this is where I'm gonna stop talking. He asks, among other things, among asking about how does a Spanish-speaking congregation join in with a English-speaking congregation that's been there forever and ever. How do you bridge the cultural and perhaps social, political, economic gaps that might come along with that? He also asks about this generational gap. What does it mean to be an intergenerational church? Which I thought might be a fitting thing for us to sort of for me to put in front of you on Youth Sunday, and for this particular conversation with Lucy. Some of his questions about the intergenerational connections that a church needs to thrive is what I'm trying to say. How well do we listen to new stories? Stories from folks that we don't know as well. And this can be about visitors who are coming, and it can also be about people who we remember being baptized and knew them when they were 7 and 8, but now they're 17 and 18, and they have different stories to tell. Yeah, and as Michelle told us, we know many of these folks as teenagers, and they're about to become young adults, and the story's about to change. And that means, in some sense, getting to know you all over again. So how well do we listen to new stories and revised stories? Can the older generations make space? This is me, I'm Gen X. Can the older generations make space for the insights and needs of the younger generations? What opportunities lie within deep listening outside of our affinity groups? And I mean affinity groups just sort of broadly. The people who we have the most in common with. That's really important and really fun to know how to connect with that. And it's more than that, it can be spiritually meaningful to sort of sit with somebody who's in the same stage of life and who's traveled similar roads to us. And then there's also blessings that we encounter when we're like, oh, this is not something I would imagine. This is not a stage of life that I'm in. And so this intergenerational, I grew up in a church where the church was small, the youth group was basically me, my brother, and our friend Jana. And so that sort of intergenerational connection was just part of what we did. It was just like when you show up at church, you're going to get to know, you're going to hold the door open for the woman who can't get in without her walker. You're going to get to know the babies. You're going to get to know the people. That was sort of the culture that formed me. And as I got older, I realized how important that was to me. That my world consisted of people who were at all sort of stages of life and all sort of stages of their faith journeys. So I share that with you as a way of saying, let's keep that in mind as we continue to grow. As we continue to grow as a church, ways of hearing new stories and ways of not only connecting with people who we have most in common with, but connecting beyond those groups as well. Where'd you go, Lucy? May, would you come up here and join me? And you don't yet have a... Yeah, there we go. It has a green light on it. I am excited to welcome my final guest in this series of interviews. Lucy, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And I already advertised out as I was inviting folks to come in that this is going to be the best in the series. So, Paula, Mel, sorry, but you are not competing for second best. Lucy, tell us a little bit just about you first. What year, where are you in school and what year?
Okay, my name is Lucy May. I am 15 years old and I'm a freshman at Westwood High School.
Nice. And your parents, you come here with your parents?
I do come here with my parents. They're sitting right there. Their names are Julie and Kelly May.
Nice. And how long have you all been attending St. Julian's?
About a year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Okay. All right.
So I feel like definitely been good to get to know everybody here. I feel like we've definitely rooted here. This is our spot now.
Yeah. Maybe what kind of you can tell us how St. Julian's fits in as you like. What I'd like to start with the same question I've asked our other guests. Tell us a little bit about your faith journey. What are some of the key stops along the way?
Well, starting on my faith journey is definitely baptism as it is for most people. I was baptized as a baby in a Catholic church. So I grew up, like the first few years of my life, I went to a Catholic church and then moved more towards just like stereotypical Christian, like hill country area.
Okay.
And then I came to St. Julian's, and I feel like one of the biggest formative moments was my confirmation, which happened recently this past year. I feel like that was the first time that I got to make a faith decision that was me wanting to build a connection with God and me choosing to, rather than it just being like routine or something I did every Sunday and it had meaning to it.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what that meant to you to be there with? Was that the day that there were so many so many young people? What was that? What did that mean to you in terms of the connections with the folks that you were with, and also maybe just in terms of the way that you said it, in terms of your own faith journey, like taking that step for yourself?
Yes. So being confirmed, I didn't really know much about it, and then I went through the curriculum, which was beautifully led by Demery, and then also I went through it alongside so many of my friends, which I feel like doing things with friends is one of the best ways to do things, like you definitely talked about. I feel like just having people that are going through the exact same thing that you are helps you get a different perspective, but still connecting your own.
Yeah. One of the questions that I've been really interested in hearing, and just like with you, I think with the other interviews too, I had this question of like, how have friends been part of your faith journey? But I never got to ask it because it seems so integral to the faith journey that it's like it always just sort of comes up. Well, the people that I connected with were so much a part of this. This is not a question I prepped you for, and you can be like, no, I'm not answering that. Back to the script, Dr. Baker, back to the script. So I'm remembering friends I had that was either through church or through the sort of the network of churches, because that's what we did. We had, so since it was just the three of us, in order to get a youth group, we had a network of churches that we would join with and do things. And I can remember some differences between the way that, like, my friendships with those folks, my church friendships and my friendships beyond church. And I had good friends in sports teams and school and all that. But I wonder if you've noticed different kinds of conversations, different kinds of connections that can happen with friends at church that can happen beyond church.
Yeah. So I feel like my friends at church, I'm able to kind of have the conversations about faith that aren't as normal to have outside of that. A lot of the friends that I do have outside of church have very similar beliefs, but others don't. So kind of having the people that I can fully speak freely around at church, that definitely like allows for like good like broadening of myself and like being able to tell my truth fully and not getting any judgment.
Yeah. Are there times at youth group when you all just have time to sit down and talk about your lives, talk about things that are hard, things that are going on?
I feel like sometimes there definitely are. Like I feel like while we're eating, food is definitely something that brings so many people together. I get to hear about so many people's different days and what they went through that day, whether it was hard or easy or the tests that they think they failed, and it's just getting to hear from those people and getting to connect with those people, whether it be good or bad. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I have a theory. This is not well researched, but I have a theory that there's something about eating together that maybe it's like the metaphor of nourishing the body. Like our body just gets it, and it's like, now connect with people more deeply. You know, there's something about mealtime that does that. I've got I learned this apart. So it's really, really important in Latino culture. Many cultures, but Latino culture I'm more familiar with. I had a student years ago who I was going to be her advisor. So so I work at a seminary not far from here. Part of my work is to sit with people who are starting the pathway of seminary and talk about their lives and talk about deep stuff and how they decided, I want to become a priest. Really hard, deep things, and they friendships and family and all the things that are part of this. And I had this Latina student who, when I was telling her, here's the kind of conversations we're going to have over the next 3 years, she goes, we're going to eat lunch together, right? And I said, I don't know. I hadn't really planned that. And she said, well, how are you supposed to get to know me if you don't eat lunch with me? Got it. We'll be having lunch together. I'm ready for that. So I think there's some magic to that. I think there's really, let's kind of put down our guard. Let's sit down to a meal together, and let's connect things that are meaningful. The stresses. There is something to that. There is something to that kind of gathering. Tell us a little bit more, if you can, about. I mean, you were a couple of years ago when y'all came to St. Julian's, and you said a little bit about the sort of the path to confirmation and how that was meaningful. Can you say more about the role that St. Julian's has played in your own sense of who you are as a person of faith?
Yeah. So St. Julian's was the first church that I felt with. Like, me and my mom have talked about this many times, that we felt like if we missed a day, somebody would be like, oh, hey, we missed you last week. And it's just feeling so loved, and like my presence is missed in a church is very like comforting to know that these people care. And like the past couple churches we've been to are so big. Like, there's so many people, like thousands, or like not thousands, but hundreds, and it's just, you kind of get lost.
Yeah.
But here it definitely feels like I'm always found, and there's always people around me that care. And so St. Julian's has definitely been that puzzle piece that we needed, really.
Yeah. Something you felt like you needed, you were missing maybe. Yeah. Maybe sometimes without even noticing it, like, oh, I didn't know that I was lacking a place to belong on a Sunday morning, but when you show up here and people remember your name, like on Cheers. Sorry, that's way too, that's Gen X reference. That's, so when you think about St. Julian's, when you think about the gift that it's been to you and to your family, what are some things that you hope we either start doing or that we continue to do as a church?
I feel like one of the best things for me that happened when we were first starting here is all of the events that we have that definitely tie in people from outer communities. And like, I notice that every once in a while, if there's a big event, I see a new face, and I see everybody like, hey, I'm introducing themselves, and then I later see them at service. So it's just the people that go to those events then come to service, and then they're intertwined in the community. So I feel like those big events and those connectivity events, just, they really help bring everybody together. And I feel like that's something that we should continue to do.
Keep doing those things and keep looking for ways to make those personal connections at things like that. So we don't let ourselves or others kind of get lost in the crowd. What thoughts or questions, comments is my conversation with Lucy stirring up for you? Yeah. Can we? And I'm going to pass the mic around. I'm going to Phil Donahue this just to keep going with the old person references.
So one of the things that I really loved also about her confirmation is Lucy reached out to people in her school who are her friends at school that she didn't really talk about her faith with, and invited them to come to her confirmation. So she brought 4 friends from her school life that were of different faiths, and came to stand over her and put their blessing on her when she got confirmed. And it was nice because she had her youth group friends there, but then she had these other friends in her community that now have had this shared experience with her. I think as people of faith, that is one of the biggest blessings that we can do, is have that connectivity with people in our home community, because we never know how that's going to bridge that connection.
Yeah.
So now Lucy sees this one friend who we didn't even know she was Episcopalian, and she goes to a different parish and goes by herself and gets herself there. And so now Lucy shares that faith with her. She didn't even know it had they not had this experience together. So I feel like St. Julian's can also be a key component in bridging our different areas of our lives. So it's not
Yeah, there are some, I haven't seen a lot of what happens at youth group, but the times that I have come in and seen it, it's hard to describe. And I kind of feel like it's sort of like if you all were to go to school and be like, yeah, I do this thing, it's, go to youth group, they'd be like, well, why do you do that? And kind of the only answer is, you got to just come and see. You just come on and see what's happening. And I feel like that's sort of broadly true about the experience that a lot of us have been talking about St. Julian's. Like that kind of, what Lucy, what you were saying about the sort of a sense of belonging, you can't really describe it. It's more just like, you got to see it, you got to feel it, you got to experience it, and then you'll be like, oh, that's why you do this. That's why you keep showing up. Nobody's making you, nobody's taking attendance, and here you are, because it's doing some work in us, right? And I think that's part of what wherever my slide was about what the Spirit does. I think that's it. That's like that's how the Spirit works in us, and you can't point to the thing and say, it's this particular, check this box and then you'll see it. It's more just like, have you ever just belonged somewhere and felt like something really meaningful and indescribable was happening? That's what we want here, right? That's what we want here. Yeah. And grab the mic whenever you want it, because we're still doing this.
Lucy, I remember the day at confirmation when you all shared your and talked about your favorite place in the church and literally physically, and then you also shared a little bit about your day-to-day life of faith and practice of faith. I was so moved by the things that you shared, and I don't know if you want to talk about any of that, but it really inspired me personally.
You can share about your TikTok.
I feel like what you were talking about was I shared that I really like welcoming people and saying like, hey, I believe this and I think it's wonderful and I'm going to share to you about it. Totally your decision. So I have a TikTok account where I do Bible studies and I share God's word, and I just invite people, hey, if you have any questions, my comments are open, my messages are open, feel free to reach out. And I love helping people know the Lord because he's done so many great things for me. And I feel like definitely part of me as a person is outreach, and I love reaching out. So definitely something that I focus on.
Wow.
What's your handle?
It is Lucy's Bible Studies. Feel free to tune in.
Amazing.
She has a furry Bible.
Yeah, I made it fluffy. I customized it.
Any thoughts from up here?
Go.
What are some of the things that you've received from the older youth in the youth group? And
nice question.
Are there things that you're hoping to pass down to our younger youth?
I definitely, one of my favorite things is when I first came to a youth group, the gracing right before we eat, all the fun ones, because I've never been to Camp Allen, so I don't know any of the fun gracing things that we do. But I was like, what's going on? Like, everybody squatted down, and they were all like yelling, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on. But I think that learning those fun traditions and learning those fun things really brought me together, and I definitely hope to do that to the younger youth as well.
Did you have any interactions with youth at your older churches? And then how does that compare to the youth group here? And then what did you not expect about the youth group when you came to church and the youth as a whole?
Nice. Thanks, Jacob.
Okay, so at some past churches, youth group kind of felt like, oh, I don't want to go, like, oh, it's such a chore. We do, like, games, but not really together in the way that St. Julian's is. It's more just like, hey, you can go play in this volleyball pit for 15 minutes, and then we're going to do lessons. And it was just, like, the groups were so much bigger, and it was so much less, like, one-on-one. I feel like at St. Julian's we have so much time to, like, actually speak and actually share what we're feeling in that moment. And I feel like at past churches it hasn't been that way at all. So I just love how St. Julian's is so like kind and small and like sharing, whereas in other churches it hasn't been before.
Thank you.
More so a fun question. What is your favorite grace and your favorite game?
Okay, my favorite grace is probably the Addams Family Grace. Because it's really fun. And then
We're gonna need to hear that. Yeah, come on.
You got it.
Alright guys, ready? Oh, do you want to do it with us?
You show us.
Racing positions! 1, 2, 3.
We thank the Lord for giving the food we need for living, and so we ask His blessing, 'cause now it's time to eat. Ba-da-da-da, 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 ba-da-da-da. Amen. Okay. And then my favorite game, probably Imposter.
I love it.
It gets heated. I get heated, mostly.
Is that like one of those werewolf murder mysteries?
Yeah, so there's like, it's like Among Us, essentially. Everybody has tasks, and then there are people who like tap, and then you're out, and then there's emergency meetings. I'm not very good. I defend the wrong people, and then people are like, oh, it's you. And it's like, no, it's not me. I'm just terrible at this game. So it's definitely fun, though. It's my favorite.
I was not that way as a freshman. Yeah, I'm very impressed with just the amount of what you're bringing to the game here. And to that end, it seems like your faith, your willingness to share it was a kind of not already there, but it's been something that is kind of a part of you, and you brought it with you. What has St. Julian's given you, or the youth group, that you feel like you're able to take out to the rest of the world?
I feel like St. Julian's has given me just an extra boost of kindness. I feel like it's shown me that everybody's so different, but everybody's deserving of kindness. And no matter their belief, no matter their ideas, everybody deserves that basic human level of kindness, and there shouldn't be an exception to that. And I feel like St. Julian's is always so good about that. Like, I don't think I've ever seen any of these people like have a snarky comment. Like, everybody's so positive and so kind, which I feel like is something that I definitely am taking out of St. Julian's and into my regular life.
Tony, you can shut this down now. We're done.
Yeah.
One more comment from Jenny.
My question is, what is your favorite Bible verse, if you have one? A favorite.
Think about it. I'm gonna walk slowly so you can. There you go.
Okay. My favorite Bible verse is John 13:7. It's the Lord said, "You do not understand now what I'm doing, but later you will." And I struggle a lot with control and wanting everything to be perfect and on my own timetable, which is why your sermon today, Michelle, really spoke to me.
What is it? Wait and what?
Wait and find
Waffo.
Waffo. I definitely struggle with Waffo. It's not my strongest quality. But I feel like that Bible verse in particular is just so like calming. It gives me that sense of things will happen when they need to happen. And trusting in Lord's timing is something that does not come naturally to us as humans. So being able to get that trait in yourself is something that is so powerful. And I implore all of you to check out that verse if you haven't. Highlight it in all of your Bibles. It's definitely one that I carry with me. So, yes, that's my favorite verse.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And we're going to stop so that you can get. You're not preaching at the next service, right? It's
Smith.
L. Smith, right? One of the amazing gifts of today is here in the youth preach, and Michelle, you go do all these 4 years at college, whatever, but then there's a seminary right down the road, and I will be waiting for you. Lucy, thank you so much for being part of it. And thank you all for these conversations over the last few weeks. I feel like my faith has increased just by hearing the stories that you all are telling me about your lives, and the ways that we've engaged with one another has done the kind of work that Lucy was talking about, where really you just got to show up and see. You got to show up and see what it's like to belong to a community like this. We're not always getting it right. We do actually sometimes get snarky with one another. I'm glad Lucy hasn't seen it, but it does happen. And part of the gift of a Christian community is we also get to practice forgiveness. We also get to say, hey, that was not me at my best. And we get to make that a part of our relationship too. And so I hope that you've gotten something to chew on from all of this, and that you felt that you've seen the opportunities to grow in relationship with one another as we grow in our relationship with Christ. And I look forward to having some more sessions in the summer. I do want to say one word about that. What we do in the summer is like a version of Lectio Divina Bible study. I'll be leading some. I also am interested to know if some of you might be interested in leading some of those. They're not too difficult to lead, and I can give you some coaching on how to do it. But if you've been wondering, maybe is there a role for me in Christian Ed? This could be it. So let me know. You can find me after, or you can send an email, which you can find through our. I think you ought to be able to find it through the weekly email or on the website. And let me know if that's something that you want to think about. Okay, thanks y'all so much, and I will see you next time.